What begins as a routine, calm day in Australia often ends in chaos, shock, and loss. If there's one thing you learn from Australia, let it be this. Even behind fences and under human care, wild animals can never be completely tamed. A quiet Sunday morning at Darling Downs Zoo in Queensland turned into a terrifying incident when a 50-year-old woman was attacked by a lion, leaving her with severe injuries to her arm. The woman, who was often described as a much-loved member of the zoo's extended family, had been observing keepers as they carried out their morning tasks in the carnivore precinct before the zoo opened to the public. According to zoo staff, she had watched keepers at work many times over the last 20 years and was familiar with the strict safety protocols around dangerous animals. Despite her experience, tragedy struck without warning. Zoo officials said that, inexplicably, at this stage, one animal grabbed her by one arm and caused severe damage to it. They confirmed that the lion did not leave its enclosure at any point, and that no members of the public or other staff were in danger. The attack happened in Pilton, a rural town west of Brisbane. Due to the seriousness of the injuries, emergency services quickly called in a rescue helicopter to transport the woman to Brisbane, the state capital. There, she underwent surgery. While the zoo's official statement said her condition was stable, several news outlets reported that the woman's arm could not be saved. The incident shocked both staff and the local community. For over 2 decades, the woman had been a regular presence at the zoo, showing dedication and passion for the animals. Though she was not an employee, her long association with the staff made her feel like part of the team. She was well versed in safety protocols around potentially dangerous animals, the zoo noted in its statement, underlining that this attack was highly unusual and unexpected. The Queensland state government confirmed that an official investigation has been launched. Workplace health and safety inspectors are now working with zoo staff to determine exactly how the attack occurred. These investigations typically look at whether safety procedures were followed, what conditions led to the incident, and how future risks can be reduced. Lions are among the most powerful predators in the animal kingdom, and even in captivity, their strength and instincts make them potentially dangerous. Attacks on humans in zoos are rare, but they do happen, usually when barriers are crossed or safety protocols break down. In this case, the zoo insists that its systems worked as intended, and the lion never left its enclosure. The statement was insistent that there was no threat to the public. Since the zoo had not yet opened for the day, no visitors were present, which prevented the situation from escalating further. Still, the incident has raised questions about the fine line between humans and wild animals in captivity. Zoos are designed to allow people to admire and learn about wildlife up close, but the events at Darling Downs are a reminder that these animals remain unpredictable and dangerous, no matter how long they have lived in human care. For now, the focus remains on the woman's recovery. Though she has suffered life-changing injuries, she survived an encounter that could easily have been fatal. Staff at the zoo expressed their sadness and concern for her in their statement, calling her an important and respected member of their community. The investigation is expected to take time, as authorities carefully review what happened in the moments leading up to the attack. Until then, the zoo continues to operate, while staff and the wider public are left reflecting on the risks that come with working so closely with wild animals. This attack is not the first incident involving dangerous animals at Australian zoos, but such cases are rare. The outcome of the investigation may lead to tighter safety measures or new restrictions for non-staff members near animal enclosures. For the woman at the center of this tragedy, however, the concern is no longer about safety procedures or investigations. It is about healing and learning to cope with a devastating injury that has permanently altered her life. Camping in northern Australia often feels like stepping into another world. The nights are quiet, the skies are filled with stars, and the only sounds are the soft ripples of water and the rustle of trees in the breeze. For 19-year-old Peter Rousel, that stillness seemed safe as he set up camp one Sunday night by the edge of the water. But in Australia's wilderness, peace can vanish in an instant. What began as a calm night turned into a fight for his life when one of the country's most feared predators came out of the dark. At around 4:30 in the morning, Peter was suddenly jolted awake by a pain so sharp it barely felt real. Something was clamped tightly onto his right foot, shaking with brutal force. In the blur between sleep and panic, he looked down and saw what most people hope never to face up close. A saltwater crocodile, at least 3 to 4 meters long, had latched onto him. It was a nightmare made real, the kind of danger that locals warn about but many visitors don't fully believe until it happens. Crocodiles are built for ambush. They strike with shocking speed, their jaws snapping shut with bone-crushing power, before dragging their prey into the water for the infamous death roll. Few survive once they are caught, but Peter didn't freeze. Instinct took over, and he did the only thing that might have saved him. With his foot still locked in the reptile's jaws, he struck the crocodile hard on the head, once, then again. To his astonishment, it worked. The animal released him and slipped silently back into the water, leaving only ripples and a shaken teenager scrambling away from the edge. The attack had lasted only seconds, but the damage was severe. His lower right leg was torn by deep puncture wounds, the marks of the crocodile's teeth pressing into his flesh. Blood stained the sand, and every step was agony. Yet he was alive, something many victims of such attacks cannot say. Help was called quickly, and he was taken to a hospital where doctors treated his injuries. The wounds were painful and permanent, but they were not life-threatening. For Peter, survival itself was a miracle. The sheer size and power of the saltwater crocodile make it one of the deadliest animals on the planet. They can grow to over 7 meters in length and weigh more than a ton. Perfectly adapted to lie in wait, they are silent hunters, slipping unnoticed beneath the surface until the right moment comes. Northern Australians know their reputation well, and signs warning people to keep away from the water's edge are everywhere. But even with precautions, crocodiles have a way of reminding people that they are always there, watching, waiting. Peter's decision to camp near the edge of the water gave the predator the chance it needed, and he was lucky to escape with his life. The outcome could have been far worse. Many victims of crocodile attacks never make it back to shore. Once dragged into the water, the chances of survival shrink dramatically. Experts often say the only hope is to fight back, aiming for the animal's eyes or snout, both of which are sensitive. Peter didn't know if his desperate punches would work, but they did, just in time. His story now stands as proof that quick thinking and a bit of instinct can make the difference between life and death when the wild shows its teeth. As Peter recovers from his wounds, his terrifying encounter remains a powerful reminder of the dangers hidden within Australia's beauty. The stars may shine brightly, the rivers may look calm, and the bush may whisper with a peaceful breeze, but in the shadows lurk creatures older and stronger than we can imagine. For a 19-year-old camper on a quiet night, that truth became terrifyingly real. And while his scars will fade with time, the memory of jaws clamping down in the dark will never leave him. Shark attacks have always loomed over the waters of South Australia, but for many surfers and coastal communities, the ocean is still home, still sacred, still irresistible. Last year passed without a single fatality, offering a rare sense of relief. Yet the hope that the danger had lessened was short-lived. As 2024 ended and 2025 began, tragedy returned with devastating force, taking lives and shaking the coastline's sense of safety all over again. The first heartbreak came on December 28, 2023, when 15-year-old surfer Kai Cowley was killed near Ethel Beach, off York Peninsula. A teenager full of promise, his life was cut short in a moment of chaos and horror. That grief was still raw when, barely days into the new year, another life was lost. This time, it was 28-year-old surfer Lance Appleby, attacked southwest of Streaky Bay while doing what he loved most, riding the waves on a summer evening. Witnesses on the beach watched helplessly as the incident unfolded before their eyes. It was brutal, sudden, and irreversible, leaving the community stunned in silence. The police confirmed the loss, but no official words could soften the blow. For locals who knew Lance, the pain ran deep. He wasn't just another name in the headlines. He was part of the town's history, remembered as a talented footballer, a premiership winner, a man with an easy smile and a knack for making people laugh. To the Marble Range Football Club, where he once played, he was more than a teammate. He was family. Their tribute called him a heart of gold, someone adored by everyone who knew him. His death wasn't just a tragedy in the water, it was a wound across the entire community. In towns like Streaky Bay, these losses are felt collectively. People grow up together, surf together, play sports together. When one is taken, everyone mourns. Local resident Jeff Schmucker, who had known Lance since he was a baby, said the news left people numb. Fear was settling in too, the kind that changes habits and reshapes traditions. Surfing, once a source of freedom and joy, was starting to feel dangerous, even reckless. The West Coast, long celebrated for its wild waves, was beginning to carry a shadow. Others, who had been in the area, echoed the unease. Isaac, a spearfisher who happened to be about 600 meters away during the attack, admitted he and his companions had already felt nervous about the spot. The breaks were popular, yes, but the waters had a reputation, a sharky area, as locals often call it. On that day, he said, the tension was clear. There were plenty of surfers enjoying the swells, but something about the scene felt risky, as if everyone knew what could happen yet chose to paddle out anyway. He and his group stayed away, uneasy about what might be lurking beneath the surface. Hours later, their instincts proved chillingly accurate. This latest tragedy wasn't an isolated incident. In October 2023, just months before Lance's death, 55-year-old surfer Todd Gendel was taken by a shark at Granite's Beach, the very same stretch of coast. Witnesses said he had been knocked from his board before vanishing into the sea. Earlier that same year in May, a much-loved teacher named Simon Baccanello lost his life to a shark near Elliston, roughly 120 kilometers from Streaky Bay. In less than 2 years, South Australia had endured 4 fatal shark attacks. For a region so deeply tied to the ocean, that number was staggering. The questions, of course, have grown louder. Why does it feel like these attacks are happening more often? Some locals, like Schmucker, believe the great white shark population has surged since gillnet fishing was banned along the west coast around 15 years ago. Others point to the 25th anniversary of great white protections, with conservation measures introduced after the species was declared vulnerable to extinction. While protections have undoubtedly helped preserve these apex predators, they have also left coastal communities wrestling with fear, wondering whether safety has been sacrificed in the process. Scientists and surfers alike have called for closer study of whether the protections are linked to the apparent increase in encounters. For now, the grief is what lingers. Each name, Kai, Todd, Simon, Lance, carries a story, a family, a community left grappling with the reality of the ocean's danger. The sun was dipping low over Kagari, better known as Fraser Island, its waters glowing gold as families cooled off in the shallows of a lagoon. For one young girl, a carefree afternoon swim quickly turned into a nightmare that will haunt her and her family forever. Without warning, a wild dingo slipped out of the landscape and into the water, turning what should have been an idyllic holiday moment into a desperate fight for survival. The girl, a primary school student, had been splashing happily when the predator struck from behind. In an instant, it lunged at her head, its jaws clamping down as it tried to drag her beneath the surface. Witnesses described how the animal held her under the water for several agonizing seconds, long enough for panic to rise, long enough to feel the terrifying reality of a wild animal's strength. Her family rushed to her aid, tearing her from its grasp before the dingo could do more damage. When rescuers arrived, the child was shaken and bloodied, with bite wounds to her head and fingers. Paramedics treated her at the scene, doing what they could to ease her pain before she was lifted by helicopter into the sky and flown to hospital. Though her injuries were serious, she was stable, alive, and in the hands of doctors who would do everything to mend the wounds left by the attack. The life flight crew said their call came at 4:40 p.m. that Monday afternoon. Another reminder that danger on Kagari can arrive suddenly, even in the most ordinary of moments. Rangers from the Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service later confirmed the girl had been attacked while swimming in shallow water, where many visitors feel safe. The dingo is believed to have been an untagged male, one of about 200 that roam the island. Investigators are now working to track the animal involved, weighing how best to protect both people and the fragile wild population that has become so closely tied to the island's identity. Officials extended their sympathies to the girl and her family, acknowledging the trauma they endured in what should have been a simple, carefree day out. Their words of comfort, however sincere, cannot erase the shock of watching a child nearly dragged under by a wild predator just meters from the shoreline. For the family, the images of that moment will linger long after the wounds heal. Kagari is a place of breathtaking beauty, a UNESCO World Heritage Site where sand dunes, rainforests, and freshwater lakes attract thousands of visitors each year. But its beauty is matched by a raw wildness that cannot be ignored. The island is home to one of the purest populations of dingoes in Australia, animals that have lived alongside humans for thousands of years, yet remain unpredictable. Authorities remind visitors constantly that these dingoes are wild, not pets, and that feeding them is illegal, carrying heavy fines. The warnings exist for a reason. A fed dingo quickly becomes habituated to humans, losing its natural caution and increasing the risk of attacks like this one. This incident was not the first. Only last year, a 5-year-old boy was also airlifted to hospital after being bitten on the head, arm, and buttocks during another beachside attack. These recurring encounters raise questions about how people and predators can safely share the island, and whether more measures are needed to protect both. For many Australians, dingoes are iconic, a symbol of the wild spirit of the land. But for families like this one, that symbolism will forever be shadowed by fear. The attack on the young girl is a stark reminder of the risks hidden in paradise. On Kagari, the lagoons may look inviting, the beaches may stretch endlessly, and the bush may whisper of ancient beauty, but the wild heart of the island is always present, always watching. Visitors step into the dingo's territory, and in that space, the balance between human enjoyment and animal survival can break without warning. As the girl recovers in hospital, her story joins a growing list of encounters that echo far beyond Queensland's coast. They are stories that remind us that the wild, while magnificent, is never truly safe. The island's dingoes will remain fierce and untamed, a part of Kagari's identity. And those who come to swim, camp, and wander must remember that here, more than anywhere, nature sets the rules. The ocean can give moments of pure joy, but it can also turn terrifying in the blink of an eye. For surfer Todd Gendel, the waters off Granite's Beach on South Australia's west coast became the setting for his final and most tragic ride. On a Tuesday morning in November, 55-year-old Todd paddled into the waves at Streaky Bay, one of the Eyre Peninsula's most famous surfing spots. A seasoned surfer who had traveled around Australia chasing the best swells, he was no stranger to the risks of the sea. But as he pushed further into the water, a deadly presence was waiting beneath the surface. Witnesses later described the shocking moment the attack happened. A large shark suddenly struck, knocking Todd from his surfboard. In front of horrified onlookers, the predator circled back and pulled him under. Panic and disbelief swept over the other surfers in the water. The ocean, which had moments earlier been a place of excitement, instantly became a scene of chaos and fear. Authorities quickly confirmed the worst. Todd had been killed in a shark attack. His devastated family later released a statement, thanking the police, volunteers, and community members who worked so hard during the search for his remains. They spoke of their grief, but also of the kindness and support shown to them by those who knew Todd and by the town of Streaky Bay. Police and emergency crews launched a major search in the days that followed. Boats, jet skis, and vehicles lined the rugged coastline as teams scoured the area. Conditions were difficult, with strong winds, heavy swells, and unpredictable currents slowing the operation. In the end, only Todd's surfboard and a few personal items were recovered. His body was never found, a haunting reminder of how vast and unforgiving the ocean can be. Superintendent Paul Barr described Todd as a highly skilled surfer who had spent much of his life traveling around Australia's coastlines in search of waves. While not a local, he was well known in the surfing community. Police made it clear there would be no attempt to hunt down the shark, saying it would be pointless to target a wild predator in its own territory. Several people witnessed the terrifying attack. Jack Martin was standing on nearby cliffs and saw the moment Todd was knocked from his board before the shark returned to deliver the fatal bite. Another local, surfer Jeff Schmucker, raced to the scene on his jet ski hoping to find Todd alive. He managed to collect Todd's board, but instead came face to face with a massive, great white shark, as long as a car. Whether it was the same shark that attacked Todd, he couldn't be certain, but the sight confirmed the grim reality of what had just unfolded. The tragedy was not an isolated event. Just months earlier, in May, local teacher Simon Baccanello was also presumed dead after being attacked by a shark at Walker's Rock Beach, about 120 kilometers away. And in October, a woman suffered serious injuries when a shark bit her leg while she was swimming off Beachport in the state's southeast. South Australian waters, rich in marine life and renowned for their surf, had seen a disturbing string of shark incidents in a short period of time. Granite's Beach, where Todd was attacked, is well loved by surfers for its powerful waves and rugged beauty, but its isolation also makes it dangerous. There are no lifeguards, no quick rescue teams, just open water and the unknown. For surfers, that's part of the appeal, but also the risk. Paddling out here means sharing the sea with one of nature's most fearsome predators. For the people of Streaky Bay, the loss of Todd struck deeply. Even though he wasn't from the town, his death left the community shaken. Locals who had rushed to help, who had witnessed the attack, and who shared the water with him that morning, will carry those memories for the rest of their lives. Sharks are an unavoidable part of Australia's coastline, and great whites in particular are protected by law. For scientists, surfers, and local communities, the debate continues about how to balance conservation with safety. But for families like Todd's, these questions come with unimaginable pain. As the waves continue to crash at Granite's Beach, surfers still paddle out, drawn by the thrill and beauty of the ocean. Yet the memory of Todd Gendle's final moments will always hang over these waters, a sobering reminder that the sea, for all its wonder, is also home to dangers that no human can control.